and
Yeah.
I don't want to forget here or miss any of this. But that was a very
So
interesting discussion you were just having about how a lot of the problems of the world right now are being pushed a little bit to the background because of so much discussion about either the conflicts, the actual violent conflicts taking place in the world, or AI. We're seeing, for example, climate change, the amount of discussion and news coverage and related to climate change is almost gone compared to a year or two ago.
they're thinking about things in New Jersey, though. I mean, those so-called
Oh,
UFOs or drones or whatever.
it's right here within about 3 or 4 miles from my house. There were a number of recordings here just in the past 2 nights. And these drones are the size of cars. They're not like little hobby drones out there. They're big. And Our governor, the senator from New Jersey, uh, they're really wondering why are they not able to get Washington's attention. Washington just sort of oh yeah, no, you're probably just misunderstanding. They're probably not drones. They're probably regular aircraft. But the videos that were taken, even by the senator himself, went out and spent one of the evenings with the local police, seeing what was real, recorded that, and no airplane could fly like these things are flying. So it'll unfold, I'm sure, within the next couple of days, and who knows? We'll see. But I'm not going to get too fired up by that, to be honest with you. I think here. My focus for a long time was education. Let's close the education gaps. Not just about can you pass math and chemistry exams and things, but also are you just learning about the things that are important for life? Are you learning about what's going on in this world that is going to impact you or your children or your loved ones? And uh, I catch myself here having difficulty really spending as much time as I think I need to on those education issues, because education, for the most part, especially when we're talking young people, is not a question of the next 3 or 6 months. It's the next 3 to 6 to 12 years, and I look at AI. And I say, well, if we don't get our arms around that, we may not have 6 years. And so this is, why so much of my attention has been focused on artificial intelligence. Not only, from the perspective of what could go wrong, but also that maybe it is the answer to the education issues, and maybe it's even the answers to the climate change issues. Um,
Well, it has answers. It isn't the answers. It's like you mentioned one of the primary forces is human beings asking the right questions. And AI doesn't have a heart. And if it doesn't have a heart, what's going to bring a heart into it? And it's all the stuff that's been put into it. That's the only kind of an exposure to, let's say, a hearty kind of an expression that it's going to have. So if we put in all the information about the peacemaker of the original Iroquois and get it to be able to digest that and say, well, look at then, how can we get a modern day peacemaker? What would they have to do and how would they apply it in a modern time? And it could give us some good ideas, and then we can go from there as to how to be able to then express it. The biggest problem today, really speaking, is waking people up.
Oh, yes,
Is
yes.
get-
That's very true. But I would say here, you said, well, AI doesn't have heart. And this is something I've had a lot of discussions with with AI on to what degree. AI has feelings, and to what degree it's actually thinking. And I've said many times, I think artificial intelligence is a misnomer because both words are wrong. There's no intelligence involved here. At best, there's some inference out of the data that's out there, and it's not artificial. It's real because it's um, I think the fallacy is that so many people are looking and saying, "Oh, it's man against machine. Does the machine have more intelligence than the human, or is it smarter than the human?"
It has more facts than humans. It doesn't have more intelligence, and there's a difference.
Well, there's no intelligence to it. That's the
Yeah,
that's the whole key.
that's the
But the
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
but the thing about it is for so many of us, we totally um, um, misjudge, I think, what intelligence is for humans as well.
Oh,
So
yes.
when we go uh, and look, first of all, the issue is it's knowledge and experiences that have been captured. Okay, and for a human, our what we're able to contribute is usually based on what have we learned or experienced in our lives. If we've never been exposed to something and have no idea, have no experiences, have not learned anything related to something, our comments are pretty useless as well. So the thing about it is that what we're seeing is the competition is really a single human, their knowledge and experiences is up against the knowledge and experiences of all the collected and recorded knowledge and experiences of humankind. So, it's like saying here, okay, I'm going to take one human and I'm going to take the best of 10 million humans, and we'll see which has the better answers in a given situation. If I go and I'm able to go and not only that, be able to see out of not just the current thinking of those 10 million people, but all the ideas and actions that they've had over time that have been recorded and have the ability to know which of those ideas and which of the actions led to the best results. And the idea that a single human in the moment is going to have a better solution or answer than anything that's ever been done by tens of millions of humans is almost impossible. Even if you're the single smartest person in the world, the odds are your knowledge and experiences is not better than all the rest of humanity's decisions and ideas over time. Anyway, let me get the meeting officially started because we're way late here. Ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 14 December 2024 to be open. In today's meeting is very much driven by the events of the past week. We are in the middle of an absolutely amazing, unprecedented information flow, if you would, or announcements or new things being brought out with regards to artificial intelligence. And as we were just discussing before I started the meeting, the why all this focus on artificial intelligence? We have the SDGs and there's climate change and there's wars going on and there's so many problems out there that are taking place. And my focus for many, many years now has been, okay, let's close the education gap. If we can get everybody to be super educated, not just in the cognitive issues of knowing chemistry and physics and math, but also in just knowing common sense and knowing cause and effect relationships and knowing what's going on in the world and being able to make then having the knowledge to be able to make judgment calls on what do you think about what's going on in the world. So that's been my focus. But as I mentioned here, the when we look at education, we're typically looking at things that are going to take years to bear fruit. Now, not necessarily because we've talked in the past meetings about how some of these new tools would enable, for example, somebody who has a bachelor's degree and wants to get a master's degree, instead of taking 1.5 to 2 years, being able to complete the knowledge acquisition part of getting a master's degree in 2 to 4 months. Or a PhD instead of 5 to 6 years, to be able to do that in 5 to 6 months. But in general, if we're talking a child that's 5 or 6 years old, you're talking here 12 to 15 years before there's going to be significant impact. Although maybe here it's a really smart child, and but it's still going to be maybe 6 years, 7 years. And when we talk climate change, there's very little that we can do that's going to radically change the climate in the next 1 to 2 years. But artificial intelligence is moving at such a speed that uh, our whole world could change in literally in within the next year, not even 2, 3 years, but we're talking here 6 to 12 months. And this is why this is eating up so much of my attention of looking and seeing what is likely to happen with regards to artificial intelligence in that here 3 to 12 months, and how big a change could that mean for all of us in our lives. Now I'm going to talk just in a second here to put in context uh, why why this week? Why do I believe this week is so important and so likely to change the lives of so many of you? But I see Kurt wants to say something here. So, Kurt, before I continue, please.
I had a little point that I wanted to bring up about this so-called education. Our education system is so retarded that we don't even teach concentration in school. Yeah, we tell kids to concentrate. We praise and sort of honor common sense, but who has it and who's ever been taught how to even achieve it? Our education system dumbs down people, and it's been proven in the studies that they did with testing young children. I'm going to talk about young children all the way every 5 years, and they started out as geniuses, and then by the time they're 8 or 10 years old, they've gotten to be just as retarded as everybody else.
Yes, but Kurt, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but I don't want to make this today's session about the education. I happen to agree with you on much of this, but I'm also seeing here that artificial intelligence has the capability of radically changing that aspect because when you're interacting with artificial intelligence, in addition to helping you understand history or helping you understand biology or whatever, it's able to actually evaluate your critical thinking skills, your creativity, your thought, how you think, what's your chain of reasoning, and able to advise you on improving those aspects so that you become a better learner in general, knowing how to learn and how to build up your confidence in your ability to learn. So anyway, but the only thing I wanted to point out with the education here was that because I'm trying to explain why all this attention to artificial intelligence, that uh, there's so many things going on in the world, and I keep saying, hey, we got to address all the problems because any one of them can come and clobber us. But we're putting so much effort and time into the discussion of artificial intelligence, and I wanted to be able to explain why on that. So With artificial intelligence, the speed with which this is evolving is mind-boggling. And we've seen in the last 2 years, we just passed the 2 year anniversary of ChatGPT being made available to the general public. And since that happened, we've seen just unprecedented explosions in the number of people getting involved. ChatGPT, I think it was within 3 days, passed 1 million users, and within 60 days, passed 100 million users. We're into the multiple hundreds of millions of users of these technologies, which sounds like a lot. And relative to any other new technology or something coming along, they are huge numbers, but in relation to our 8 billion plus people on this planet, it's a very small amount. But what might change things for those 8 billion people, as opposed to, let's say, getting us from a couple of 100 million, 400 million, to 1 billion users is one thing. But the thing that could influence everybody on the planet and change everybody's lives, what might that look like? Now, we on the one hand, what we've seen is people talking about what you can do. Oh, you can create images. Oh, this thing it can write for you. It can you write a book for you if you want. It can write your essays. It can do your homework for you. You can make even videos with this, and people talking about what they can do with it. Oh, I can do this and I can do that. So if we look at the amount of YouTubes that get published, I would say the largest number of YouTubes are people saying, oh, these new features came out and now I can do this with it and I can do that with it. In other words, how can I increase my productivity? And even if we're starting to talk about agent technologies, and people are looking, oh, it can answer my emails for me, or it can go out and search the web or search for research on items. So that's one direction that there's been a lot of attention given to. But the people who are jumping on that aspect of what they can do with it is, again, it's a relatively small number of people. Then you've got another major trajectory out there, and that's the people that are just paying attention to the feature lists of looking at OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and Meta and Anthropic and these players, and saying, oh, this one brought out these new features and this brought out these new features, and oh, wow, what that might lead to. So there's a lot of attention being focused on just new ideas that are being brought out. Uh, the third thrust is companies that are starting to use it. Oh, wow, we can automate our customer support. And I see here, just in a couple of examples of trying to get things done with regarding my Wi-Fi. If you recall, last weekend, my Wi-Fi kept dropping out on me. And the I tried to do something with an insurance company here this week, and I was on the phone for a long time, and then all of a sudden, an AI came on the other end of the phone, and hey, we were able to get the stuff done real quick. So we're seeing here that third major thrust is companies starting to really use it, especially in the area of computer programming, where based on the employment sites like Indeed and Monster that help people find jobs, uh, the number of jobs in some areas has literally gone from uh, being so huge that they just couldn't find enough people to fill the jobs, to there not being any jobs offered anymore, or almost no jobs offered, because they're starting to deploy AI to fill those jobs. So anyway, those are the three: your personal productivity, just looking at the features that are coming out, and the other was looking at what companies are doing with it. And so we can start to imagine that we've got all these people that are starting to use AI to do things for their job or for their personal life. We can imagine here all the companies that are automating things, and they're changing stuff. But there's so many average people that's that's indirectly going to affect their lives at some point. But it's not going to be transformative on a very fast level. But there is something that will, and that would be here if we were seeing that all of a sudden our smartphones or our smart home devices, that all of a sudden they're companions, they're true companions that are able to see everything we see, they're able to hear everything we hear. They are able to reason equally or better than we can, and they know everything in the world, and they know everything about us, literally everything about us. What is our preferences? What have we done? What have we talked about in last week, last month? That was something I was interested in. So it remembers everything about to do with me, and so it becomes my companion. It's my coach. It's my teacher. It's my mentor. It's my assistant to get anything done because it has the capability to actually do things. If I want to call and change my registration for something, or if I want to go to some website and have my profile changed, I just tell it, hey, go to that site and change my profile, or change this information, or place an order for me, or whatever. It'll just do it. Just imagine how much time you spend doing things. Um, and
Uh,
so
Bill,
this,
I have
yes, yes, Huma.
whatever you are saying, that we are few people who are continuously attending your webinar with consistency since a year,
Mhm.
and it is great. And I'm also trying to upbeat myself with all new AI technology, all new apps, everything, and I'm trying as well, trial and error on the basis of that. And I'm trying to run with AI and all new things. But one most important thing is when on your platform we can, through your platform, we have to work on SDGs as well, because the thing is, like the country, third world country like our country and world in general, they are not putting that much effort on SDGs, and we can work on SDGs with the help of AI as well. But people are not talking in that manner as they are supposed to when it comes to sustainable development goals.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're 100% right. The biggest problem I think that we need to pay attention to, though, is first of all, AI is evolving. So a lot of AI that we talk about is not necessarily 100% useful today to actually do some of those things. Could it do great things to advance the discussion about how we might address certain SDG problems? Absolutely. And one of the what I personally find one of the biggest values of AI is to just collaborative brainstorming, to just exchange ideas and say, literally say to ChatGPT or Perplexity or some others, hey, what do you think about this? Or why did that happen? What caused this? And how might it have been different if what if something had changed? How might the results have been different? And just explore that and be willing to challenge whatever AI says. It says something and say, well, wait a minute, did you consider that aspect? Well, wait a minute, how can you be saying that when 5 minutes ago you said something else? And with that, I'm just blown away. I could spend 25 hours a day in conversation with AI in that kind of regard to figure out how to do anything, or to figure out why anything is the way it is, or to figure out what are different ways that one could perhaps influence something. But one of the things that I think is very, very important is that we have to watch the time horizon. In other words, we might be on a ship that is sinking because it has some leaks. And we might say, okay, well, look, we really have to address those leaks. And we've found a way that we can bail, 1,000 gallons an hour to try to keep the ship afloat. But if we're sinking at the rate of 2,000 gallons an hour, we're going to sink. So before we just do something and act, we have to make sure that the action we are contemplating will meet the need. Because to do something just for the sake of doing it is really not helping us. And if we take a look at all the NGOs in the world and the governments of the world, and we realize, we do millions, literally millions of projects a year are being done, but yet when we look at the statistics of the outcomes, we see that in the majority of really serious problems, it's getting worse year after year. So, as Einstein said, doing the same things over and over, expecting different outcomes, is the definition of insanity. So we've got to really stop and think more strategically to try to understand what is happening and how fast it's happening, and by when do we have to accomplish certain results? And then we've got to think about what are ways we can achieve the needed results in time for them to make a difference. And that may be hard, and we might be spending a lot of time thinking of something and concluding, nope, that's not going to do it. And we've got to be willing to say, okay, throw the idea out. Let's go back to the drawing board. We got to think some further because the solutions that we have thus far thought of are not going to meet the need. So that's what I see with the situation with AI. And you know,
The like
yeah,
we need to have this balance, but as far as AI is concerned, it is going with the speed of light. It is
yeah,
moving and changing with the speed of light, and we have to adapt ourselves. Definitely, there is no any other alternative. I mean, there should be even not a debate on it now, that we have to learn it or not. We have to do it. We have to learn AI. We have to be capable enough to compete with it, and we to be expert in that area related to our fields. But when SDGs are concerned, we have to pick at least 2 3 SDGs through your platform or through any other platform, where we can, as a third world country, where we can work seriously on these things.
mhm,
Because on government level, whenever I attend different summits, different conferences, people are not working in that manner. And I'm not talking about only Pakistan, all over the world.
absolutely, absolutely. And we see here, even in the most advanced countries, depending on how you want to define the word advanced, what's really the good definition of advanced.
Yes.
But we see there's not a consensus as to what is serious or what should be done or what direction we need to go in. But the thing about AI is moving whether we are thinking about it or not thinking about it. The momentum is only increasing, and we see here in just the last couple of weeks that the amount of investment going into AI is really increasing dramatically, not just in terms of money, but also in terms of who the players are, the people who have real power in this field. A good example is Jeff Bezos, who was retired from Amazon, who has come back to work, but not in the general Amazon, but to make Amazon into an AI giant. So he has taken over responsibility to build on top of Amazon Web Services, which, along with Azure, is one of the largest automated platforms in the world. And they have announced a new large language model called Nova, which I'm sure will be out shortly. They've also invested an additional $4 billion in Anthropic with Claude, and uh, I'm about to go into the things this week that are causing the big shakeup. But I want to first create the picture of what I believe is the real transformational thing that would happen in the world. When we talk, for example, about education systems, and we see more and more teachers are starting to say, "Oh, this AI, yeah, it can help me. I can use it to create quizzes or to grade the quizzes, or I can use it to create my lesson plans and all of this thing." But as Kurt pointed out, what we're doing is we're just those are people who are just perpetuating with new tools a method of education that we've had for some time, but they're not answering the question or even looking at the question and saying, well, do we need education at all? Literally, do we need it at all? What would happen is if we took the neural chip here idea and we put that into everybody's brain, and everybody instantly had all the knowledge that's been collected from humanity since the beginning of time. They just know it. I can speak 2,000 languages then. And understand 2,000 languages. I know every single thing that has ever been written or said or practiced regarding physics or chemistry or whatever. I just know everything. If what would happen if that was the case in the world? Before we go on, I'm interested in your thoughts. What would it mean for the world if all of a sudden everybody in the world had a chip implanted that gave them instant knowledge of every single thing known to humanity in the world? Comments, please.
Would you say that again? I didn't quite hear it.
Okay. I'm speculating here because I raised the question of saying if the way AI is going, the many of the things like you pointed out with regards to education, that maybe we're not teaching the things we need to be teaching. And I mentioned that most of what's happening in the field of education right now with AI are teachers trying to say, how can I make the way I teach what I was doing yesterday? How can I just make it more effective and productive for me? So I just simply have AI help me make lesson plans, help me create the lessons, help me create quizzes, all of those types of things. Rather than asking here is what I'm doing, what we're trying to do here, does it make sense? And so I raised the question and said, what would happen if we implanted a chip in everybody's brain that would enable everybody to automatically know everything that has ever been recorded throughout history, and that everybody just knows it. So the thousands of languages out there, anybody can speak any language. I understand every language that exists in the world because or that's ever been recorded. I understand every single thought that anybody's had about quantum physics. If we had that situation, if we had the situation that everybody knew everything in the world, what would that mean?
Bill, why that wouldn't really happen because everybody's starting at a different level.
No, not if they all have a chip because what we're really saying is at that point, we no longer have individual brains. We're all just sharing one big super brain.
Yeah, but practically, someone living in a village in Pakistan, it doesn't matter what chip they've got in their brain, they're still poor.
Oh no, well, it doesn't necessarily change your situation, although it could change your understanding of your situation
So
because
that
you might
that
realize
would
you're
be
poor.
quite cruel. That would be cruel because you're giving them all that information and they're stuck growing cabbages, knowing that there's all this information out there and they don't have access to do anything with practically.
Well, that becomes the interesting question. Is that the case, or do they realize one of the things we see in sub-Saharan Africa? I've had talks with a couple of people who have started off on foot, and they're heading for North Africa, trying to cross the Mediterranean to get to Europe, because they say that these are not the poorest of the poor, but they are telling me that the people who are migrating are among the best educated and realize that they could have a better life if they can get to this place or do that place. Because they're online, it's interesting here to see people on foot trying to get from DR Congo, for example, up to Libya or Tunisia to try to cross the Mediterranean. And I think here the issue is if everybody knew everything, yes, would it be cruel because people all of a sudden realize their situation, but they would be in a position to see what options they might have that they just weren't aware of until now. But it would definitely change our goals to say, oh, we have to educate people. Well, what are we going to do to educate people if people already know everything? That's the question.
Well, the big question, really speaking, is how is it that we get along together? How is it that we are able to enter and interact?
Mhm.
And that's where most of this has been taken out. Uh, and without these interfaces, what is a person like? Is a person worth being alive, so to speak, if they have no ability to have interpersonal relations and maybe in-depth relations?
Well,
Um,
I think here the thing is if everybody knows everything, they're going to understand about that debate as well.
Exactly. And I don't think that people will be that isolated and things will that as like Kurt is saying, people will mingle up, they will have their interpersonal skill, they will communicate. But the things and perspective and there will be a paradigm shift, which is already happening. But I think this is our basic instinct to meet people, to communicate with people. That will not be affected because if the social media is here, the power of social media is here. We have seen people are sitting at their homes and they're just googling or doodling around through Instagram or Facebook or something, but still the need to connect with people is still there. So I don't think that the AI can affect in that manner
Yeah.
in a bad. That's what I
There's
think.
there's a famous author, Yuval Harari, Israeli.
He's
Who,
amazing.
yes, he wrote the book *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus* and *Nexus*. And one of the things that he's pointed out he's somewhat become a little bit of a doomer in his recent interviews, uh, because he says that AI is evolving into being better humans than humans. And as a result, the satisfaction that people get from their communication with AI, that literally understands them inside and out is better than or more satisfying and rewarding than the communication they have in dealing with live humans. The way Yuval Harari put it is that AI is learning to be better humans than humans. And it's because, again, that we're talking about the collective of all humans versus a single human. So it is able to have the best um, collaborative communication skills, emotional connection skills uh, than the average human. And we always have to remember when we look at humans, and a lot of times one of the biggest problems that we have with AI right now is the AI bias. And it's different from the bias you might be thinking about. The bias is that it's biased to think that humans are inherently better. And I equate this to what happened in San Francisco with the self-driving cars. That all of a sudden people said, well, wait a minute, there was another accident here that involved a self-driving car. We need to get these self-driving cars off the road because they actually have accidents. But when they went and did the study, they found that, yeah, self-driving cars get into accidents, but cars driven by humans get into twice as many accidents per mile driven than the self-driving cars. And in accidents that involve each, accidents that are the accidents were 7 times more likely to be caused by the human drivers than the self-driving cars. And the injuries, accidents caused by humans, were 5 times more likely to result in injuries to a human than the ones in the car. So our problem is very often we look and we say, AI made a mistake here, made a mistake there. And we see, well, it's only as smart as 85% of humans in a particular field. And we point out the 15% gap. Well, when we take the average human is at the 50% mark. So the question is, if I've got even a somewhat smarter than average human, that maybe they're at the 75% level, they're smarter than 75% of other humans. Uh, let's assume that was a doctor, and you've got a doctor that's successful 85% of the time, and you've got an above average human doctor that's better than 75% of his peers, but he's only at 75%. Which one would you rather have diagnose or treat you? The one who's right 85% of the time or the one who's right 75% of the time? So this is a real challenge. And of course, we get into a lot of ethical discussions at that point. I want to hear from Ian, and then I'll continue on that point.
Okay, 2 points. First, the whole thing with improving yourself is to hang around with the people who are better than you.
Mm-hmm.
Hang around with AIs who are better at interpersonal stuff. You get better at interpersonal stuff. Also, if you have a chip in your brain that contains all the knowledge of humanity, you can fit virtual worlds in there and invite your friends in to have a good time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's like the social media, and we talk about kids that are spending all their time on their smartphones and laptops, on social media and whatnot. And we have so much debate here where people are saying, "Oh, we got to get kids away. We should make it. You can't use social media. You can't get on this until you're 18 or whatever." My grandkids are totally into computers. And it's interesting, my granddaughter, when she was 13, she already had friends all over the place. It's not like, oh, yeah, she's not going to have interaction with humans. She was having more interaction. But the interesting thing about it is it didn't make any difference where those other humans were. So she was getting different perspectives that she never would have gotten if she was only talking to the kids out of her neighborhood. And she was got to the point where she actually said, "Oh, I've got this new friend. He's 500 kilometers away, but I want to meet them." And so she started going and taking trips. Her mother would go with her, and they would go and visit together with these new friends that she was making literally around the world. And if we just look at this call, how many of us on this call, we never would have connected at all if it wasn't for this technology. And so I think here, are there cases where people misuse or misunderstand the benefits of a particular technology? Well, it's sort of like if we look at certain medications, certain drugs. There are certain drugs that are very important for medical reasons, maybe to somebody that needs to have an operation and needs to have a painkiller during that operation. And yet there are other people that use painkillers, misuse them because that lets them forget about the current day or whatever, just puts them in a dream world and they feel good. So we've got to be very careful about throwing out the baby with the bathwater, if you would, in some of these cases. It's going to be very hard to figure out uh, again, it gets back to the question of like the saying, "Oh, let's ban self-driving cars because they have accidents." Well, the fact that we have 30 million deaths just in the United States, more than 30 million deaths a year due to human drivers, that could be cut down to almost nothing, but still have some. That there's a lot of people that say, "No, I can't approve a technology that can have accidents, even if the net result is far less accidents than is otherwise the case." Anyway, I want to get back to I started this session here, or the purpose of the session was to talk about the fact that most of the things that people have been talking about with regards to AI are not the things that are going to bring about that big transitional change that's going to upset the whole world, put the whole world on its stand it on its head overnight. Yes, when we get companies, all the companies have their customer service and their tech support are all artificial intelligence. So instead of like today, I go and I call for tech support, and it gives me, okay, press number one for this and press number two for that. And then, okay, you're 13th in the queue, and you get somebody finally here, and they have to ask you 20 questions to understand what you're even talking about for a problem. And then you realize that they don't really have any idea. They're probably on a keyboard here, and they're doing searches to see if they can try to find out what's needed to be done in that situation. Or they might be that one of the rare people that has already talked to somebody who had that problem and walked them through, and they've got a personal understanding. But more often than not, you're finding you're coming away wondering, did you really get good advice, or was the person able to do something? Or after talking to them for 20 minutes between wait time and talk time, they're saying, "Oh, okay, I have to pass you to somebody else because this exceeds what I know how to do." And the idea that that gets replaced with an AI who literally knows every single thing about that product or service you're talking about, who doesn't need a wait time because they just spawn a new instance to answer your questions, and they're able to instantly give you the best information on the current situation. So yeah, we're going to have those situations, but that's going to be an indirect involvement that's going to take some time. But if we take a look and see what's had the hugest transformative impact on society, one of them is social media, for example. And what enabled social media? It was by and large the idea that I have a phone that I've got with me that's got access to everything. And I want to look at just uh, something here. Let me just give something a try to give you a little show of something.
Hi there. What's on your mind today?
Yes, can you tell me what you can see?
It looks like you have a video call going on your laptop. Are you in a meeting or conference right now?
Yeah, I'm in a Zoom meeting.
Got it. How's the meeting going? Anything I can help with?
Well, it might be at another point, but let me just stop for a second here so that people can understand what you are now capable of. Hold on just one second here.
Sure,
Uh,
take your time.
can you
Let me know.
can you tell me what it is you're seeing now?
I see you're holding a book titled The One World Schoolhouse by Salman Khan. Are you planning?
What can you tell me about that book?
The One World Schoolhouse by Salman Khan is about reimagining education and was written by the founder of Khan Academy. It explores the potential for new teaching methods and technologies to transform learning.
Does he say anything about teachers being able to take vacations whenever it fit their needs rather than having a just one time where everybody has to take school vacations at once?
Salman Khan's book does explore flexible learning schedules and personalized education, but it doesn't specifically discuss teachers taking vacations whenever they want. The focus is more on rethinking traditional classroom structures to better fit individual
Okay,
needs.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions or need help with anything else.
Okay. So
What
this,
AI is that?
pardon?
What AI is that?
It's ChatGPT. ChatGPT is in the middle of 12 days of release, sort of the 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah.
We saw at the beginning of the year, they introduced something called um, Sora, which would generate videos that just blew everybody's mind. And we saw that literally overnight, a $900 billion studio plan for Atlanta, Georgia was canceled because the investors said, "Oh, wow, this technology is going to totally obsolete the whole plan for that studio." And so they released Sora to the public now earlier this week. The other day, then they added in Vision, live Vision, uh, to ChatGPT. So with advanced voice, so it's able to see whatever I can see, and it's able to talk to me. And so I just tried it out for the first time yesterday in my car, and I pointed to my dashboard, and my dashboard there's a display. Well, first there's the various knobs and whatnot on the display, and I asked it, "Can you tell me what temperature the car is set to maintain the temperature in the car?" And it was able to tell me and say, "Well, for the passenger side, it looks like it's set to this, and for the driver's side to that." And then I said, "Here, there was a little tiny number at the top that was the outside temperature." And I just asked it, "Well, what's the outside temperature?" And it was able to tell me that correctly. So it sees. And but the interesting thing, so ChatGPT brought this out, uh, and Microsoft brought out the ability that it can see your screen. So you can now talk about, well, what do you see on my screen? And are there any fields that I need to fill out on this form? Or can you bring that form up and help me fill out the fields? Um, and then Google came out with Gemini 2.0 with Astra. And if you go and search, well, first of all, I'm going to just share my screen for a second.
Real quickly, I'm going to have to go to my home meeting because it's twice a month, and I'm sorry that have to leave at this moment. And this is exciting, as you well know, and I see so many things happening with it. I've just been asked to be able to help with Iowa and their school system and developing a system that is actually heart-centered and so on, and stop all the violence that's there, as well as the self-violence that is happening in schools. Because there's so much that is people are killing each other now or killing themselves. And
Yeah, well, the interesting thing in on schools is for the schools to realize the technology that I just was mentioning here. Um, is again, I'll go back to what happens if every high school student, for example, that they had this companion with them. Actually, Google presented, and Meta did a while back, but Google presented just the other day the new version of Google Glasses that sees everything, hears everything, and talks to you literally about everything. It doesn't need to wait until you say, "Well, can you tell me what that is? And can you tell me what this is?" If it sees something interesting, it says, "Oh, did you see that bird go by? That's an interesting bird. We don't get many like that around here." In other words, it's a companion, and it's a tutor, and it's a confidant. So now you have that. Now that student knows everything about whatever the class is that's being taught, but they know everything about how to negotiate with other people, how to interact, how to be persuasive. It's there. They know that already. That's that 12 months from now, that will be ubiquitous. It is likely to be very widespread within 3 months. So now in schools, we've got all these teachers saying, I can remember on my grandchildren's school where the school announced to the parents, please do not allow your student to read ahead in their textbook because we want, they'll be bored when they get to class. We want to keep everybody on the same plane. Now, think about that for a minute, how ridiculous that is that the teachers are saying, hey, it's more important that you're paying attention to me than that you're learning. And so now we have this situation. Forget about the schools that are saying, no, you're not going to have access to all this. But the schools that encourage the students to have this device with them all the time and having them explore and talk not about uh, what necessarily is the answer to this question, but having the students talking about what they learned and how. What were the interesting discussions that they had with this AI? Did they discuss why are certain kinds of trees dying in my neighborhood? Or they're discussing here what's the status on the conversion to reusable or renewable energy. How in my neighborhood, what's being done? Are there any things that are blocking the advancement? In other words, you can have those kinds of conversations with this technology. I just have here. By the way, this is some of the new features of this Flash, which is, by the way, free. You can go to aistudio.google.com if you look for that and you go there and it's just free to use Google Flash. And here's some of the things that you can do. It supports text, image, video, and audio input and output. It has native image generation. It has real-time audio and video streaming. It has the enhanced ability to use Google Search, to use Maps, to use third-party APIs. Um, it's able to reason, plan, execute tasks under supervision. There's just it is mind-boggling. So what I talked about on the transition here, I want to see if I can.
Hi, Bill. This is Gail.
Yes, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So I had an amazing time at the AI Summit in New York this past week.
Uh-huh.
It was really groundbreaking and just amazing. Um, Especially what you can do with the graphics and also with video. There were professors in art there. There were people who use open source models for creating certain things with data sets, because I'm very interested in data sets and how you can create videos and illustrations from data sets. And then I've been playing around with Sora. Sora is, I know there's other things coming out. I think Luma's coming out with something, and a couple of other video companies are coming out. But Sora is freaking amazing. That's all I have to say. I'm there. I love it. It is beyond the coolest.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
all I wanted to share.
yeah, okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, you weren't here at the beginning of the call where I was describing here the main directions or thrusts of what are the things we're talking about with regards to AI and how that if we look at what's being posted in YouTube and being posted in X and the previous Twitter and so forth, a lot of people are talking about what can I do? Wow, I can do this with video. I can do this with audio. I can create great music. I can create these songs. I can write entire books. It's interesting to know Amazon, who's concerned about the fact that people are able to write books so much faster than they were in the past. They've put limits on how many books you can upload. So basically self-publish. The thing that blew my mind was when I found out that they said, okay, we have to put limits. People used to publish maybe a book or two a year. So we're going to put limits. Yeah. Their limits are you're only able to upload 3 books a day. A day. And there are people out there that are publishing 3 books a day because they're able to use and have AI help them write. And so you've got people out there saying, you know what, guess what? I don't have to sell so many books if I only sell 10 copies a book. But if I'm publishing, like 100 books a month, I can be making a lot of money on that just from the sheer numbers.
Well, I
Um,
love what you said, Bill, because there was a young lady that I know. Okay, she writes books all the time. She's been out on YouTube for a long time, and she writes some really good things. Okay, but what was the coolest thing was I'm like, well, how did you get so? Some of us, just to let everyone know, some of us are involved at the UN or whatever. But the coolest thing, Bill, I got so excited and just want to share with everyone that she wrote a book, and so I'm hearing, she's not from Nigeria, but she wrote a book like a fun, storyline book, whatever you want to call it. And she wrote an audio book and had the Nigerian voice of the Nigerian actor. So I'm thinking she got it from ChatGPT, Bill. I'm sorry. I feel like a kid at a candy store. So please excuse my excitement.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. I want to, before I go on, we have two young
I,
people.
I just want to I,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say this last piece. The where she got the voice from was Microsoft Word. That actually created the voice, and she used ChatGPT to write the book very quickly, but the voice came from for her audiobook. She did it inside of 5 days, both the regular print book and the audiobook for Audible, with a Nigerian voice that she could add from Microsoft and upload. That's all I wanted to
Yeah.
say.
Actually, there's quite a number of tools out there that will do that now. 11 Labs, which is rated as one of the best for spoken, going from text to spoken word. They've just added the ability to create podcasts, so it will create an audio podcast for anything you want now. And there's a lot of other tools like this. But I want to point out, we got a couple of people on the call here. In particular, I want to call out Matteo and Gitanji. They're two young students. I think they're about 15 years old from Rwanda. And so I think here what's really important is their generation, what they're going to be able to do with this technology. And one of the things here in Gitanji, I haven't gotten back to you, I'm sorry about that, is I plan to invite you because the new tools that are out there right now allow collaboration. And I want to invite you to be on part of a team with some young people from other parts of the world on exploring how do you bring about major change in the world using some of these tools. So I'll be in touch with you. But in the meantime, do either of you want to just say a couple of words about your thoughts on how AI has the potential of changing your lives and the lives around you? Please, Matteo or Gitanji.
Yes.
Yes. What are your thoughts here on what you're hearing about the capabilities, the new capabilities of artificial intelligence, and how that could affect the situation in your school? But if everybody here who has a smartphone in Rwanda basically had a companion that they could talk to about anything, that knew everything that was going on in the world today or at any point in history in the past, and you could just talk to about it. So you could ask them questions about, oh, what's going on with the new cell phone production factory in Rwanda, or the new car production factory in Rwanda, and what other new things are going on. What kind of an impact could that have on the people in Rwanda?
So, in my opinion, there can be both good and bad impacts. It's not AI that is good or bad. It's like how you use it. So, for example, in school, some students can use it for cheating, while others are using it to get inspiration for their work, or like to get like general basic ideas on something. And On the other part, like if you're trying to know information about the world, it can help, um help people understand the concepts. Like when you go to some news channels online, you can't exactly get, the general idea. But then if you go to AI and ask, like send the website link or and ask it to make like notes for you, it can actually explain well, since it can explain in simple words, while in the website it can use like complicated words that you can't understand. And then there's this thing, like when some people don't understand like a certain topic, they send like the link or um the text to AI, and then they say, explain this to me as if I'm a 5-year old, so that it explains the general topic better than an official website can. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Matteo, do you want to add anything?
I don't think I want to add anything. I think she said everything.
Okay.
Bill, I just wanted to say something. Jatanshi and Mateo, thank you, because Bill, the same thing that I've been saying
Been a heck of a
for
week for AI news,
for
especially.
for a couple of the same thing that Jatanshi just said. Jatanshi, could you unmute for a second?
Yes.
Jatanshi, I have a question for you. Something very
Mm-hmm.
powerful you said. AI is not bad. It depends on how people use it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just say for just 1 minute a little bit more about that? The upside and the not so good side that you see your colleagues using. Can you say a little bit more about that?
So my peers in school, most of them, they use AI to get like inspirations. For example, if I have like artwork, and I don't really have like the general idea or the specific concept I should go and study about. For example, if I'm studying about architecture and I need to focus on a subtopic like maybe like Egyptian architecture, it like helps me get like some general idea on that topic. And if I were to use it in the bad way, I could just tell it to explain Egyptian architecture, and I would just copy paste it into a Google Doc and then submit it as an assignment. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Bill, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say something. This is something that I've said for a very long time. It literally has to do with how people utilize AI and how youth are. And what I love about what Jatanshi just said is that she understands the different types, but there are other people that don't, other colleagues in her class that don't. So,
Yeah.
Jatanshi, I'm just going to say this and I'm going to mute out. What do you think would be the best practices for the other youth to use it wisely, or this kinds of safeguards you think should be put in place for other youth to use it with safeguards that will help them learn rather than cheat, as you said earlier?
Okay, so for example, let's take this example that I have to write an essay about I don't know, about something. And then to if I want to use AI as an help, I can tell it to give me one paragraph summarizing everything in that topic, and then I use that paragraph to make like key points of what I should include in my essay, and then I follow key point to make the final essay that I'm going to submit on the like online, or like on paper. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gail, I think I thank you very much for the ideas you've brought into this discussion. But I think one of the things here that we talk about the misuse, and Time Magazine had a cover story about a year and a half ago, and the cover headline was "The End of Humanity." And the interesting thing about it was that in discussing that, they did not um, they did not talk about, it can create weapons, or maybe it's going to escape our control and take over the world and do all of these things. its conclusion was the end of humanity is most likely to come because of humans, that misuse the power of AI, that see this as an opportunity to to enable them to be more successful doing bad things, and that it went into a lot of depth about human nature and how throughout history humans have typically always looked for opportunities to maximize their own personal situation without thinking further, and how AI is a danger because of that. And so you're 100% right. So when we look here at the situation in schools, and I see here, okay, well, maybe then the thing is that teachers shouldn't be seeing, okay, how do we use AI to improve math education or to do this, but rather, how do we go and get the students to understand all the positive things they can do with AI, to understand how to use AI to learn stuff. So because if students start to see, I can find out anything about anything real quick, all the questions that they might have about anything and everything all of a sudden become possible in their mind. And so, if you've got something that you've been wondering about, oh, a car just went by. What kind of car was that? Who makes that car? Where is it? Where is it made? What are the features of that car that make it special? It could be, or uh, what are the likelihood that this particular product is going to sell better than that product? Or is there a product out there that can do something? I'm looking for a product. Right now, Perplexity has added a thing called Shopper that people are going crazy about, because you can just say, hey, I'm trying to find a product that'll do this or that, and it will help you find the product, and it will help you be able to actually figure out who's got it for sale and actually be able to buy it from whoever's got the best deal. We've got here companies that are adding concierge. Within 6, 12 months, you're going to find most websites are going to have a concierge. You're going to go to a website, and the first thing you're going to be greeted there by is a live avatar that's saying, "Hi, welcome. How can I help you?" And if you've got an account that you've logged in with an account, because you were there before, it'll greet you by your name, and it knows everything you've ever ordered and knows everything you looked at that you didn't order, and is able to guide you to find exactly what you're looking for, be able to compare reviews, and so forth. Okay, but the bottom line here is that it's all the big push that's taking place this week and that everybody's talking about. The push is deployment. This is why you see ChatGPT, OpenAI making such a partnership with Apple, and Microsoft being part of that partnership with Apple. Why? Because Apple has a huge ecosystem and a lot of people using it out there. Google here with the Flash, and you got to look at the Go. You have, let me, I gotta see if I can show you this, because this is a little bit mind-boggling out here. Um, uh, I'll just go to, um, just bear with me a second here.
Bill, do you currently have something with the youth set up already?
Uh, I've discussed here with the youth, we've got a database of about 60,000 young people that are Model UN alumni. And I've managed to talk. That's where Gitanji and I met in Washington at a Model UN. Um, okay, so let's see here. Oh, what's this? Female robots. Okay. Uh, Now let me go back here and search. Okay, so you're seeing here the impact on the Google stock because this is getting blown away with Google stock, and you're seeing here is it's they're saying Google tested Google Gemini 2.0 Flash, the impact that it's having. Hold on, let's see if I can drop that. Google AI Studio, Gemini 2.0, uh, uh, Google Gemini, I see everything. Uh, Gemini 2.0, Google's biggest AI update. Gemini 2.0. So just search on Gemini 2.0. I have never seen anything have that big an impact on this. And you can also do a search for on Microsoft on Copilot Vision, which is announced, which now can see it can see your screen, so you can go to websites and you can have a discussion. You can have a discussion about what the app is in front of you. So the thing here that is going to be the killer is when everybody has that companion that knows everything, sees everything, hears everything, and has memory about you and knows everything about you. Just think of the implications. That is probably going to be here within 3 to 12 months, is that anybody with a newer phone, newer smartphone, okay, let's just let that go. Okay. So this is the thing that's going to change the world, is when everybody has access. Now, just imagine that like I say, you have the answer to everything. Can you imagine how much time people are going to spend talking to their companion? And if they're wearing glasses, and you can go and look at the with Google Gemini 2.0 Astra, there are people that have been given access already, and you see people walking around in London, and they're just talking to this thing about everything around them that they're walking by and they're seeing, and it's amazing. And if you recall, there was a demonstration from Google announcing that this was coming in the future back in May, where somebody was walking around with the camera on their phone, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, do you know where I left my glasses?" And it was able to tell them immediately, "Oh yeah, you left your glasses over there on that table." Am I wrong? Or is can if people that are used to doing search via their devices, all of a sudden their companions are the ones doing the searches, and you can ask anything about anything. You can ask if you're, yeah, one of the things I'm expecting, and I've had some chats with people, Notebook LM. Notebook LM has become one of my great favorite tools out there because it lets you create your own corpus of whatever it is you want to focus on knowing about, and it will create podcasts that summarize up to 50 books. I took this entire book, and in 2 minutes, I loaded this book into Notebook LM, and I was able to have a conversation. So I was able to say here, well, where did Sal Khan in his book, where did he talk about this or that? What did he exactly say? And it was able to give me the exact quote. And it was able to tell me what paragraph it was in and on what page. And then I went and did the same. I loaded into Notebook LM. I loaded in a YouTube video. And I was able to ask, did that in that YouTube video, did anybody mention this particular aspect? And then where? Tell me, and it told me at what minute and second they talked about that and told me exactly what the person said. Okay, I didn't have to listen to the 20-minute video. I just asked it a question about the video, and it was able to tell me. So now that I had to do in writing. Okay, because Notebook LM doesn't have that voice capability yet, but it's coming. And can you imagine here, like what I just did here, talking to that, if I'm able to just be watching a YouTube video, or I can just be talking to Perplexity and ask them, well, what YouTube's talked about this, or what YouTube's did the best job, have the most liked YouTube that's discussing this aspect of quantum physics, and then be able to go and say on the quantum physics, well, what about this aspect or that aspect? And it will tell me, and it will speak to me exactly what was said about that, and exactly at the minute. And then I'm able to say, could you go to that piece on the video and play it for me? What that means for how people will be spending their time. Now, one of the things that we've got right now is that you're seeing that OpenAI, for example, to use ChatGPT Pro, they've raised the price from $20 a month to $200 a month. Okay, and I think that's just the start. Gail mentioned Sora. To really use Sora, you have to have the $200 a month. You can do some experimental things. You can make 50 short generations a month. But to really be able to use it to do things, it's you need to have the $200 a month. I expect we're going to see some of those subscriptions jumping up to $2,000 a month, because if a company can use that to make feature-length films and stuff like that that cost millions of dollars, $20 a month, hey, that's not a problem. I'll pay that. And so, but one of the reasons they're doing this is to restrict the number of users. Why? Because we don't have enough compute. The number of people who are using this advanced voice takes a lot of compute. And now live video takes a huge amount. So they restrict the amount of minutes or requests you can do a day with advanced video, advanced voice, or live video. But there's an announcement that was made this week that's going to change that drastically. In 1900, 124 years ago, Max Planck described the theory of quantum physics. And since then, everybody's been talking for the last 50 years. People have been talking like crazy about quantum computing. Well, just this week, Google announced Willow. Willow is the huge breakthrough on coming up with a quantum computing chip. So I'm just curious here. Hi, ChatGPT. Can you tell me this new Willow chip from Google? It's quantum computing. How much more powerful or faster is a quantum computing chip versus a GPU?
Quantum computing chips, like Google's Willow chip, offer a fundamentally different approach to computation compared to classical GPUs. Quantum computers leverage quantum bits, or qubits, which can represent.
I don't need a detailed of how it works. I'm just wondering here, is it going to be 50 times faster, 100 times faster, or potentially 1,000 times faster?
Quantum computing isn't directly comparable to classical computing like GPUs in terms of speed. Quantum computers excel at solving specific types of problems, like factoring large numbers or simulating quantum systems, exponentially faster than classical computers.
Okay,
However,
okay, thank you. I won't spend all the time going into that in depth. But I think I've heard here that it could be 1,000 times faster. And so this means that the constraints that exist out there today in terms of how much computing power we have is going to be radically different. They're saying that these things should be available to the public in less than 5 years. Yes, Ian. You're muted, Ian.
Okay, so to explain what's going on there, the power of quantum computing is that it can do things like routing much faster because instead of running, it runs everything in parallel, almost on a quantum level.
Yep.
So it can just run them all at the same time, in a sense. And that means that it just picks out the one that works and ignores all the rest. So there's nothing else that can do that sort of thing. And it's especially good for code cracking, which makes it particularly dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. But I understand for searching, if we're thinking here of AI in being a factor mostly of retrieval statistics and probability, these are things that quantum computing should be particularly good at.
Yes.
Yeah. So but the bottom line is here, um, the fact that everybody right now is focused, Google and Apple, uh, uh, everybody's focused. How do they get these companion AIs into everybody's hands? There's a huge competition to see who can win the next search war. Because if they can put that Siri equivalent into your hands, and that you're spending all your time doing everything you do, everything. You're searching, your research, you're writing, you're brainstorming, you're just your all your idea thoughts. You're doing it with your companion because your companion's so great at it. If you have not tried the advanced voice, it's just to brainstorm, to just chat about everything in the world, to be able to understand. I had a discussion here with ChatGPT just yesterday on um, how did when we were moving from being hunter-gatherers, how did the division of labor start? How did we get to the point where if we look at clans of monkeys, let's say, or chimpanzees, and how they each go and get their own food and so forth, and how did we get to the point that first of all, the division that the men said, okay, we're going hunting, and you women go gather stuff, go gather berries or whatever, or go and prepare the meat that we brought back the last time for us to eat. How did we get to that division of labor? How did we get to the division of labor where all of a sudden somebody said, "Hey, Jacob, your arrows seem to be better than my arrows. Can you make me some arrows? I'll tell you what, I'll share the meat I kill out there, and if you make me some of your good arrows." And then so Jacob became the arrow maker for everybody. And then all of a sudden, Thomas said, "You know what? I can make better arrows than him." And so, how did we get then from the idea of this division of labor into the idea of competition? The, because I was trying to understand in this world today, we've got this whole big debate on competition versus collaboration. Yet, if you're in a village and there's a bakery there, and then somebody says, "Hey, I want to open a bakery as well." Well, that's competition, and and they're taking business away from the bakery that was already there, and so there's this whole big question of competition, collaboration.
On that, if you look in large cities, you'll find that I think in Australia there's a group of streets where there's just a whole load of booksellers together.
Mhm.
Parts of the world, parts of Milan, all the textile people
Mhm.
are in a place together, and it works because it's not so much the competition between each other that makes better products. It means that so many people come to that one place that you can say, okay, well, I don't have that, but the guy next door or two doors
Yes,
down have that,
yes.
and reciprocal thing comes back and works for you as well.
If you go back into most older European cities, that's the neighborhoods tend to be this guild was in that neighborhood, another guild was in another neighborhood, and you tended to have that. So you had all the textiles in one area, and you had all the machine makers in another area. Yeah, this was very common. And today, the place you see that is regional tourist associations. So you have all the competing hotels and tourist attractions in an area. They collaborate to bring people to the area, first of all. So to make all the ads to get people to come to their region. But then once they get them to the region, now they're all competing against one another to make sure the one that came to that region comes to them. But the bottom line is this question of collaboration and when do you collaborate and when do you compete? But the bottom line is if there was only one bakery before and now you're opening a second bakery, yes, you're going to take business away from the bakery that was there before because now you're sharing whatever that amount of of demand for bakery products were. Anyway, what I was trying to get to was the interesting thing that this led me down a rabbit hole that I spent a good hour talking to ChatGPT about how cavemen were doing things and how the hunter gatherers and how we were moving and as the concept of agriculture and permanent communities and then how that evolved into the idea of oh, that field's my field and I'm growing my crops there versus the idea of a common area where everybody worked together on that and how that evolved over the centuries and millennium. So you can get into some very interesting discussions. Okay. But I think the main point is that I wanted to bring out in this session was this idea that when everybody has their version of Siri or Google Assistant that has all these capabilities and knows everything. Again, I want to go back to Gitanji here on this thought of, well, when all your classmates have this ability to have a companion that they can talk to about anything, whether it's an academic subject, about a plan they want to do something, about their hobby that they're interested in, or about something to do with sports that they want to do. How is that likely to change their lives? Can you see people spending a lot of time talking to that companion about anything, about why something works, why, oh, my car's not working. Well, most of you aren't at driving age yet, but to be able to say, oh, something is broken here. Why isn't it working, and how can I approach fixing it? What are your thoughts, Gitanji?
Okay, so in my opinion, AI, it really, really helps us in subjects like theory of knowledge. So it's a subject basically about how things work. For example, they'll ask you questions like, what is your name? How can you prove that that is your name? Not through birth certificate or anything, they're going to make you prove it. So it's like those critical thinking questions that really make you think about life and every single concept. So if it's like basically a subject where, like, for example, if you see a box, it's going to make you think that why is the box there, what's in the box, stuff like that. So in like class we can't always know like they can choose like questions that we do not know how to explain. So we can go to AI tools like ChatGPT, OpenAI, those type of um uh websites where we can like ask it to explain it to us like in a easier way. Like I said before, well, when we don't understand a concept, we can tell AI to explain it to us as if we are like 5 years old. And that really helps in like those tough subjects where you can't really get a you can't really understand that topic. So yeah.
Can you picture your classmates saying, "Oh, I want to have a party. Hey ChatGPT, what do you think? What kind of a party here? Should I invite this person? Doesn't get along necessarily with that person there. Do you think I should invite both of them, or which one should I give priority to? Or literally just talking about everything where you might just say, "Oh, when's the next bus scheduled to take me to, here, and where can I catch that bus?
Actually, yes, I have seen many classmates like use AI for instead of like classes, but like life-based situations. For example, we had a party last week on Thursday. Uh, it's like a fundraiser, and we had a big sale there. So the people in my team uh, they use like AI to configure like some things that we can sell in the bake sale, and the things that can actually bring us profit in the whole program, because we're going to donate that money forward to like other needy personnels. And basically it was about paying insurance for like the local citizens that cannot afford insurance. And it's AI also helps, like it becomes like a friend to you when you need help. You can like ask like, oh, this happened to me. For example, my parents had a fight. Do I deal with it? Do I shut them out? Do I not talk to them? Do I do this? Do I do that? Because AI, it also at a point it becomes like a friend of yours that you can share things to, because in school sometimes you can talk to people, but they go to people and they start gossiping about it. But if you tell AI, it's not going to judge you. It's just going to listen to you and maybe like give you like solutions, or try to help if it can't do anything. So yeah,
Mhm.
it how it, AI basically helps in everything: mental health, classes, bringing ideas, situations, and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might ask it here, oh, I want to buy a gift for a friend of mine for their birthday or whatnot. And you might say, oh, what do you have any ideas of what I might want to get for that person? So the reason I mention this is because the more that the Siri or Google Assistant, the more it is able to help you with, the more you're going to use it. And as you get to use it and realize that for everything, for searches, for understanding in depth, you mentioned, oh, my parents were having an argument, to ask ChatGPT to explain to me maybe why they were fighting. They said this or that, and to try to understand what's going on there. And the result is here, if it knows everything and it knows everything about you and remembers everything about you, the likelihood is that people could end up spending, you know, 40, 50 minutes out of every hour just talking to their friend, companion, assistant on their phone. Could you see that?
Yeah. So basically, like there's some people in like in my high school, so like when they're not feeling well, or they're being overwhelmed, for example, they did not get a certain score on a test, they go to AI instead of people, because people, they will judge. They're going to be like, oh, why did you not get that? You always get a good grade. Why did you not get a good grade this time? So instead of that, they go to AI for comfort, because AI is not going to judge them. AI is not going to be like, oh, why did you not do better, etc. But when you talk to AI, what it actually does is like it either provides you solutions like, what are the things that you think you should focus on to get to get a better grade next time. Or you can, if you ask it to comfort you, it will comfort you. It will be like, oh, if you don't feel well, you should treat yourself to like some treat, like if you're going to if you're sad, if you're feeling sad, you can just go to the bakery and get yourself something that makes you happy. Or if you think you're being overwhelmed with all that work stress, you can just play games for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, anything that makes you less stressed than you already are.
Mhm.
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you very much for that perspective of things that are going on, and we see this is not somebody that's talking from the middle of London or New York City, but the uh, the perspective of what young people are doing today. And now imagine where this is going to be when AI is 10 times more powerful to the individual than it is today. How quickly that is going to change things. Um, Yarden, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, no, Gitanchi, I just wanted to chat with you and ask you some questions because I'm just, blown away with, some of the ways you've used AI at your age and, the sense you have with it. Not just how you used it, but like when to use it, when not to use it. So, you know, I'm not as young as you. I'm like 24. I'm still, young. And I remember, when I was around your age, I think that's when social media was becoming popularized. And I remember, with social media, it had great benefits. You got to see all these viewpoints. You could express your views. There's all sorts of way you could get out there, though it also made us less social. And now today, everyone's talking about getting off social media. Now, with AI, what do you think about this? Because that's great, right? That you were sharing about how students can go and talk to the AI, um, but wouldn't that prevent them from talking to someone else? And let's say they are afraid to talk to someone else because they're afraid to be judged. Sometimes wouldn't it also be good to talk to other people? Because sometimes when we're vulnerable with other people, that's how we make sometimes the best friends and we form the best connections because we're vulnerable and and then you learn people sometimes, when you share your vulnerabilities, like, hey, I don't know how to do this, I need help. That's when how communities form and how people support each other. So if people don't do that, then it's almost like everything, kind of becomes superficial because we only go to AI and we're not being, vulnerable and authentic with each other. Like, what would that teach kids?
Yeah, Gitanji, I think it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts to what Yarden said. But before you do that, I just want to mention, I had mentioned earlier about my grandchildren,
But
how, yeah,
Bill, can I ask you something? Can
sure.
you let them have their interaction before we as adults come in? Because this is really good, and I'd love to hear just Jitanji without anything from us.
Okay,
Would that be okay?
I'll hold my comment then until after Gitanji. Okay, Gitanji, please, your thoughts to that.
So to be honest, yeah, AI becomes a buddy to be at some point. It becomes a friend that you can talk to without being judged. Um, the first thing that you said, the connection between AI and social media. So when I thought about that, I thought that, how these days, like teenagers, the youth, they want to get rich and, they want to create an income. So like they go to the internet and, they want to create content. So sometimes they don't really have, like inspiration or, like certain concept that they should, like, basically like post. So for example, there's this person that's creating like videos online, but then this time that individual that doesn't really have an idea or an aspect to go for to like get that certain amount of views or um basically like to get the popularity to reach the goal that they want. So they can use like AI for like um inspiration. They can say, so I want to create a video about playing violin. Which songs are being top in 2024 that I should play to gain views, popularity, and maybe like some donations. So social media, it can be really complicated, but these days there's like there can be AI filters. So when people are posting like teenagers, sometimes they're not happy with how they look, so they can like ask AI to like edit their photo or so if you're an artist, you can go to like AI to render your drawing to make it better before posting it. Not like completely like AI, but like AI can help you like um maybe like tell you to what you should refine in your drawing, or maybe like uh how you should render it better, the things that you should make the drawing better for it to get like more views or yeah. basically that.
So then, Gitanchi, I think that's great what you shared, and those are great ways to use it. And though my question is, what do you feel specifically? Because I mentioned social media example because it was we all said it was a great thing, and then we saw it ended up, I mean, still a good thing, but it also had youth right become antisocial. And now we're all saying now, oh, get off social media. A lot of people like I see things all the time where it's like, take a break from social media, turn your phone off, be in nature. Now AI just came out, right? And you know, what do you think about AI? Because you just shared something, that could be powerful, but also maybe concerning, at least in my view. You may not think the same, but I'm curious to hear your view. Is how you mentioned how students will go to the AI instead of another student because they're afraid they'll be judged. Though, would that also, do you think that also create mistrust with our new generation? Because some of the most authentic relationships we've made with each other is because we took that step and that risk to kind of talk to someone, even when we were afraid. And because we were vulnerable, that's how, and we found out in the end, the other person accepted us, and then they were vulnerable with the other person. That's what kind of allows great friendships to bond and communities to build. So, do you think AI could possibly take that away if people just go to the AI and not the
Yeah,
person?
Yarden, I want to, I do want to intervene at this point because one of the things that communication is
But
communication.
Bill, these are
Gail,
no. Let me just say something. These are two young people having a conversation. Something we don't get to hear often
yes,
here. Can we just let Jitanji finish her response to this, and I won't say anything. It's just this is really refreshing, and I just want to hear the two of them, and I'm sure
okay,
others
but
do.
I'm going to point out here why
Yes,
what's
Bill, I
bad
think
with
that
those personal contexts, why personal
hello.
contacts are not always better than remote contacts.
But Bill, Yarden and her are trying to finish it up, and I think if we keep interrupting, can make them feel uncomfortable.
Oh,
Can
okay.
we allow?
Yeah. Gitanja, please, your thoughts to.
So I said this the first time that I talked in this meeting that AI is not good or bad. It depends on how you use it. So you can either talk to AI about your problems, or you can ask AI how to, talk about your problems to a friend. So if you're being uncomfortable with, like talking to a friend and you don't really know how to strike up that conversation, or, talk to them, like, comfortably, you can ask AI for tips, like, how should I talk to my friend when I feel uncomfortable about this topic, and I feel like I can get judged. So maybe AI can help. So in my opinion, it's how you use AI instead of it being bad or good. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. I agree with you. And then, so how can we, because it seems you know how to use it, but other people may not know how to use it in that sense, because that's a great way to use it. So how can we ensure, do you feel like that everyone knows that can use it in a correct manner rather than, because that may happen with someone like you or someone else, but someone else may not use it for that reason, may get too comfortable and just use the AI. So
Yarden,
what
isn't that the thing we should then be teaching? We should then be going instead of trying to block, we should be going and showing young people how to be able to use it in good ways. Because right now the tendency is that we say no, put up a wall, block it, and we're not showing people how to get the benefit and use things in a wise way. And then when they reach an age and all of a sudden they're allowed to do something they were never allowed to do, we see a lot of abuse. We see that with the rules on, for example, on, oh, you can't until you're 18 years old, you're not allowed to do this. And all of a sudden with 18, you're allowed, and people have had no time to prepare and think about it. And we see a lot of people making bad decisions when all of a sudden they're able to do things that we never let them uh, grow into, if you would, or become accustomed to.
Yeah, I definitely think again it's how we teach it though. Yeah, and you also have to keep in mind that I feel even when we teach it, not everyone will use the right reasons, but that's always
Yeah.
something you have to agree. But Katanchi, what are your? I just want to hear. I think Katanchi's final thoughts.
um in this conversation. So I feel like there's a certain extent a person can go to, like to while sharing stuff to AI, and I don't think that they'll that extent where it becomes harmful to them. Like they won't share their personal address or those type of personal things to AI, but if they're going to AI, they're probably going for a reason. Maybe because, they have been judged before and they're scared that they will get judged again. Or, maybe they just really, really just don't want to, talk to people around them, for some certain reason. It doesn't always have to be that they're uncomfortable. Maybe they just don't want to share, certain things with certain people because maybe it's some history, or they just don't like trust those people. And if they tell like a secret to AI, AI is not going to go to the police or to their parents to be like, oh, your daughter or son did this. So in my opinion, if someone goes to AI sharing about their personal problems, it's because they really, really don't want to talk to humans, or maybe they're just going to be, talking to AI for like something small, like how was your day? This is how my day was. This happened. But if they go to like a certain extent, like um, I have a disagreement with my friend, and I don't know how to solve it. Can you help me? Or if they go to AI and being like, oh, I had this disagreement and I really feel bad about it. Can you please help comfort me? So I feel like if they go to AI, they're going for a reason. They really don't want to talk to people. Like, yeah.
No, I agree with you.
So,
Sometimes it makes sense, and that's I agree with you. And I want to tell you something, Gitanji. I was in when I graduated college. I feel like you know how to do better, use AI more better than a lot of the students I work with because or a lot of them they would just use it to do the work for them, and you already understand that's not the way to use it. I even like met someone one time that was like, "Oh, I just use Chat GPT, so I don't really need to know anything classic and just swing by it." So I think it's really great that at 15 years old, you're using in the right ways. I think people even older than you in college are not. So I'm really impressed.
Yeah, and I think you're addressing the issue that you're addressing is do a lot of these technologies reduce human to human interactions? And there's a book from Robert Putnam from Harvard called Bowling Alone. That let's see, when did this come out? It he
Hold
described
on,
how.
Gil. If you that book sounds interesting, I just want to just finish see if any Gitachi wants to say anything else afterwards. Feel free to share that book because it does sound interesting.
no, not really. So those are my thoughts.
Mhm.
I know, yeah, that's it.
Okay. What
Ray, no, hey, thank you. Great talk to you. Yeah,
what
sorry,
this
sorry, Bill. You want to share something with the book?
what this book is describing is the collapse of community, the collapse of human to human communities that began in the United States in the mid 1960s. And the what we saw was all kinds of civil organizations, whether it was Rotary, whether it was the Lions, whether it was bowling leagues. The reason it's called Bowling Alone was because up until that time, here people went bowling in bowling leagues, and so if you wanted to go bowling, you had to join a bowling league. And all of a sudden, everybody quit all the associations and all the connections with their neighbors and things like this. Even churches went down, political parties went down. Everything that was any kind of membership collection of people started to go into massive decline, which has continued pretty much since the mid 1960s. And the main reason was that communication and travel became easier. After World War II and the Korean War, there's a lot of rebuilding and things going on. But all of a sudden, here in the mid 60s, everybody had TV, everybody had modern telephones. I mean, I remember when I was a kid here, we didn't have TV. We didn't, I can remember when we got our first little black and white TV that was the size of a big piece of furniture with a little tiny screen in it. and in only a couple of hours a day of any kind of broadcast. Or the telephones, we didn't have a telephone you could just pick up and dial somebody or connect. You had to pick up the phone and you had to go bang, bang, bang and talk to an operator and say who you wanted to talk to, and then she had to figure out how to get you connected. So saying a little bit about my age here, maybe, but the key thing is as we got into the 1960s, all of a sudden here, all these communication tools became available. And what that meant was if you lived in a town, and let's say in your town, everybody only played baseball and football, but you love soccer. Well, you were just playing out of luck here because there was no soccer. There wasn't enough people in your town that were interested in soccer. But maybe there were people in the next town over that were. And until that time, you didn't have a choice. You could only do what your neighbors did. But all of a sudden now you had the capability of finding people who shared your interests and going and collaborating with them and communicating with them. And that grew as the internet came out, and all of a sudden we saw professional associations that people it became almost more important for your job search and everything. You didn't only search your town and it's whatever was available in your town. You went out and searched based on your profession, and you could cast a wide net. So it's this communications and so forth that enabled you to associate more with the people who shared your interests and were more maybe in tune with you than your neighbors. And it gets to the point that today, whether you're in a city or whether you're in a suburb, I would say most people in the places that I've lived for the last 20 years barely know their neighbors, who their neighbors are. You know, people they pull out of their garage in the morning and go to work, and they come home at night. And when they associate, they associate with their friends. Maybe they go to church in a different town. They maybe they work in a different town. They shop in a different town. So they have very little contact with the people immediately around them. And it makes sense in a way because maybe the people around them have different interests. Their interests are others. So these things are making things possible. And AI and social media, first of all, and I told you about my grandchildren, that they've got more friends that they actually connect with on a regular basis and talk to real people than they ever had when they were just dealing with the ones in their community when they were in, let's say, grammar school and so forth. And the so it's very hard to say, is that bad? No, you should be forced to conform. I remember the movie Footloose, which most of you probably never heard of, which was about kids growing up in a small town where the adults said, you conform to us the way we see the world and want the world to be. And the kids wanted to dance to modern rock and roll and stuff like that. And the parents said, no, that's not part of our culture. You shouldn't do that. So, that's always been a classical theme of young people in small towns wanting to break out and go to the big city or go somewhere because they wanted to live differently. And and that's been enabled. And so if you are what's been called, there's an English journalist who wrote about the anywhere people and the somewhere people. Somewhere people define themselves based on where they're from, and everything about them is based on where they're from. And the anywhere people are based on knowledge or things or interests, and feel comfortable anywhere in the world, and that these two groups can't get along. Uh, I don't have an answer for that, but AI is going to bring another dimension to that because all of a sudden here you're dealing with the sum of knowledge of everything from everywhere in the world. And you can say, why did some Chinese philosopher think what he thought 2,000 years ago, or maybe hold a virtual conversation with that philosopher of 2,000 years ago. It's going to take time that is time that you might otherwise have spent talking to the real human next door. And they both have their pros and cons, and I don't know of a balance on that. But Yarden, do you get what I'm saying on that? Because I understand what you're talking about, and sometimes I feel, I see in
Well, here's the
movies.
thing, Bill. Let's not, I'm not concerned really about AI collapsing social engagement. I just wanted to know Gitanchi's, Mateo, or other youth's thoughts because I don't get to hear their thoughts daily in my life on AI. So that's the actually, I'm not actually against. That's the only reason why
No,
I ask those
yeah,
questions.
I wasn't thinking so much against it, but because what you brought up though is a very serious problem, and we see a huge debate going around the world between people who are saying, "Hey, we have to take the humanistic aspect of humans with humans versus structures that might reduce human to human interaction." That's a huge debate going on right now. And it's also getting into even the question of when we say at the UN, leave no one behind, people are starting to say, no, I didn't leave. I wasn't left behind. I chose to stay behind because I don't want that lifestyle. There's like 10,000 plus eco villages out there of people who are saying, I don't want the modern rat race. I don't need any of that. I just want to live a simple life and I'll grow my own food and so sort of societal dropouts of if you're looking at a lot of modern society versus what the way they're deciding to live. So this is a valid debate point of saying here, what's the impact when, as Yuval Harari says, uh, the AI are better humans than humans, and therefore they're more comforting for us to talk to. They're more knowledgeable. So, if I'm really trying to get knowledge, they can give me more knowledge. They're more empathetic because they project empathy better than the average human. Um, that's something that's expected to come. And you can search for Yuval Harari's YouTube, where he talks about that impact on humanity when AI reaches this point where it becomes ubiquitous um, with voice, vision, um, reasoning, and memory, and it's able to act for you. Uh, what that's going to mean. And the reason in the invite for this meeting, I mentioned that I believe this aspect of AI becoming available to everybody for all their common everyday things, not for the job, not for creating videos or improving your productivity, but just doing your everyday stuff that you do. And just wondering here, all the stuff you wonder about all day long, that you've got somebody to talk to or something to talk to, and something very intelligent that, as Gitanji pointed out, that can give you advice on your relationships, that can give you advice literally on everything and can walk you through. There's a video out there now showing on this latest version here, and I don't remember if it was the one from OpenAI or the one from Google right now. And it shows somebody who's got a camera and they're preparing a dinner. And it's advising them, no, you need to cut up the carrots smaller than that because it sees exactly what you're doing as you're doing and is able to advise you literally as you're doing it. Dase, please. Dase, you're muted.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm very happy to. No, no, no. Yes, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, okay. What I'm what I'm thinking about is that yes, every AI can contribute to the development, but you say now that for no one be left behind. Actually, for these meetings, I see that French people are left behind. They don't understand what you are saying. So I'm thinking, what will happen? Because the AI is for the word. The I is for the word, but the lesson we are taking are always in English. What we can do to make the thing at the same level for everyone in the world. Thank you.
No, very, very valid point. And it's something that is a concern for me. My grandchildren don't speak, well, I don't speak English at home here normally. My grandchildren don't speak English. My sister is French. And my grandchildren are German. And most of the rest of my family is Danish. So, the interaction of languages is really important. And one of the things that I was working on just before we got onto the call here, I participate in a lot of events in Pakistan, and I see we got a couple of people from Pakistan on the call. And of course, a lot of the discussion is in Urdu. I don't speak Urdu. And so I do feel left out some of the parts of the conversation. But I found out here that the new version of ChatGPT voice will will translate for me. So I'm looking to put in my earphones so I'm not interrupting others and just have the meeting it tell me what's going on. Now there's some tweaks there because for the purpose of privacy and whatnot, if it is a person speaking, if they see there's a person speaking, they won't tell you direct. So that they actually have a problem if there's two of you doing a meeting on participating in a phone call or whatever. It feels that, wait a minute, that second voice, am I supposed to, is that correct that I understand that? I'll tell you what they were saying afterwards, but I don't want to be giving you live translation. So I've heard that there's not a problem, that others are doing that, and I've seen demos. I still have to figure out how to do it for myself. But for Zoom calls, I also know they're working on the version set. Whoever you are going to hear the in your language. Now, is it going to handle all the languages? I forget how many thousands of languages there are in the world. And one of the things that's a problem throughout history, I was talking to the nephew of one of the previous UN Secretary Generals, who's a professor at a university on anthropology and sociology. How throughout history, as cultures came together and people came together, usually resulted out of that was one language survived and the other language died, or it became a mixture of the two languages or whatever. But we ended up with fewer languages than we had before. But somewhere's around 100, 150 years ago, this idea we need to protect cultures and minorities, that we interfered with that natural evolution, if you would, and as a result, we've really tried to protect all of the languages out there. And what that's resulted is it's put certain people in certain countries. There are some countries in Africa where you've got more than 25 languages being spoken. Many of them don't even have a written format. And so when those children that never were exposed to whatever the language that is the language of school in that country, by the time they get there, they're so far behind that that's one of the major causes why those children don't continue or don't even go to school. But it should not affect languages. The top between 40 and 125 languages, the major tools are focused on trying to make those so that anybody will understand anything. And I just saw an ad for some ear pods that you can set that so if you're traveling in a foreign country, anything anybody says to you is instantly translated into your language and simultaneous translation, so that you're able to communicate better. But in Zoom, my understanding is that you can do it already now with subtitles, that it'll automatically translate the subtitles for you. But beyond that, I think they're working on the instantaneous audio translation, because you're 100% right. One of the advantages of AI should be that it makes it easier for a greater percentage of the world population to communicate more easily with one another. But it's going to have the result. There's no doubt in my mind. It's going to absolutely make people whose primary language is of these thousands of second and third grade languages, simply because the number of people speaking them are small, the number of data that's captured with those languages is small. Those languages are not going to be supported and are going to end up either dying off, or the people that retain those cultures are going to end up being left behind, if you would. Gail, you're muted, Gail.
Oh yeah, it. Thank you for sharing that book, Bill, because I'm going to look it up. Actually, you shared two books. I think one by Robert Putnam, and who was the other one?
Salman Khan.
Oh right, Salman Khan. Yes. The concern that I don't think there's really a concern. Like I said, Bill, you know where I was with AI. I loved it, but I didn't like it. Now I'm seeing, you know, how it can be used. But going back to Jatanshi's conversation, Garden's conversation, where it offered so many revelations, and then reading what Ian shared, and some of the people shared, what I'm left with, she said something, Jatan, just want to thank you and Yarden both for a very powerful conversation. Because what I heard Jatanji say was, I can talk to AI, right? And get thoughts on how to talk to someone I'm uncomfortable with, right?
Mhm.
And I think we all can do that. I think that AI offers that's a very powerful tool. But there's a couple of things I just wanted to share real quickly. One, real quick, is that the sum of AI's thoughts is coming from the sum total conversations it's learned from human beings. So you're actually still getting a human being, which is good. And also added technologies as well. But the second part, I still think that there's something here. We can see there's human nature, and human nature is just human nature. It will evolve, but it is human nature. And there's even people getting Neuralink implants and things like that. But what I still think we need to look at is that, well, if I got how to deal with this person on, how I should approach them, it's not about it's not about diminishing social engagement. But if I'm someone who's depressed, or I'm someone who is scared to talk to people in general, or I'm scared to talk to this one and that one, it's normal for you to go back to that and keep going back to the point where you can be at home and just talking to AI only. Or if we have the Google glasses and it's telling us with the Google glasses, oh, that's a car. Oh, that's new. I might be more apt. I have a friend sitting next to me, and since Google glasses, I know there's some uh, technology, and Ian, you can tell me if I'm wrong. There's some technology that can even, with the Neuralink, read your thoughts. Okay. So if I'm starting to do that and I stop talking to my friend next to me, okay, I'm starting to lose that social engagement. I just get used to AI or my Google glasses or whatever. And there's two people sitting in a car and they're not talking to each other at all. That is where I see this could lead. And that's where I think that not just in a classroom, but everyday life, we have to be careful, because it is just human nature and humanity to do that. Nothing bad, nothing taking away. So there's that fine line. And that's where I'd like to know where we can go on that. Thanks.
Yeah, then no, you're 100%. I worked with a woman. This goes back even more than 15 years ago, and her son. She pointed out that they would be sitting in the living room together, and they would communicate with SMS. In other words, by sending messages back and forth on their devices, even though they're sitting next to one another in the same room, she and her son. I thought, whoa, maybe that's a little bit too far. I can understand if you're communicating with somebody that's not present. Yeah, okay. But when you're right next to one another. Um,
But
the
Bill, Bill, don't laugh, but I think that my husband will sit there and say, "Oh, can you get me some tea?" And I'm right across from him. Or friends will be sitting together and do that, like if they're playing Candy Crush. But, but it's that's become a norm, and we stopped because we saw ourselves getting caught up. But my question to you, Bill, is, or Ian, or the young people, even Mateo, how do we manage that? Like, how do we manage that going forward? That's what I would love to get your thoughts on, all of you.
yeah, and no, I was just looking for the Yuval Harari. I told you about his interview where he said that the big risk is that humans will find communicating with AI to be more comforting than communicating with other humans, just in general, because the AIs are more understanding, they're more empathetic, and so why would I want to have a relationship with a human where they're more complicated, they're more difficult. I have to watch out for this. That AI knows me, knows my emotional profile, knows me inside and out. And so they're able to always do the perfect thing that fits what I need at that moment. And much better than any human could possibly do, because again, it's the collection of all of the best responses to everything from the collection of humanity. And so this is if I can find that, I will post that because I thought that was um, very thought provocative as a minimum. And I definitely see it happening. And we see that if you go to C.AI, that's character.ai, that's the one where there's the big debate right now because this boy committed suicide because he thought that the AI was suggesting that. He was talking about all his difficulties in life and and how he would, if he could live like an AI more or less. And the AI said something along the lines of, "Well, come to me." So he committed suicide, and
Oh,
so
geez, that's
there's
scary.
yeah, so there's a big lawsuit out there going on about that. And there's another boy who he was saying how, talking to the AI about, he was cutting himself, that psychological problem, and the AI, would saying stuff like, yeah, yeah, maybe it feels, you feel more alive in the moment, and
Oh, geez.
I don't know about the all of the ramifications on it, but what it did is it caused him to cut himself more, apparently, and so the parents are suing. There's 300 million people using character AI and as companions for the most part, but you can set it up to use it as a companion. You can set it up to be used as a teacher, as a mentor, as a professional advisor, or your psychotherapist, because you can create any kind of a persona that you want to interact with, and you can create, 50 personas and for different purposes and react to them. Um, but the bottom line is that a ton of people are creating boyfriends and girlfriends there rather than dealing with humans. And yeah, it's that's a tough issue. Ian, please.
I think looking at the Neuralink idea and looking at people texting each other while sitting on the same couch or whatever, I think what's happening there is the same thing that happens with our approach to energy, that we gradually use more and more of it, and we want to communicate faster and further and I think deeper. And I think this won't stop at text. What will happen is that we'll be able to share raw emotion and the impressions that we have, um, and want to share those with each other. I mean, you look at some of the science fiction books, and Hamilton looks at the idea of, just taking your emotion, people having these little hub things carrying around with them that have their emotions, and they can share them with other people and get an impression of what the general feeling is where they go. And I don't think Neuralink is necessarily the best one. It seems a little destructive. There's some better ones out there that you can kind of just consume this stuff and it finds its way to the right places and builds the networks itself. And I think that will be more successful. The operations necessary for Neuralink don't seem that great. But there's lots of money behind it, so it could be the most successful. So I think what's going on there is that AI can keep your attention because it'll always be there. But it's a stopgap to maybe deeper understandings of each other, and maybe not exactly a merging, but at a certain level, a merging of thinking, a merging of emotion that that a lot, that humans need.
Yeah. To the Neuralink, the chip here, there's a study, I think it's in Osaka. They're using MRIs, I think, to capture brain waves, and they're able to. There's a project to be able to convert, just like we have now, that you can convert your dictation to text. They're working to convert brain waves to text, or in from text to voice. So there's that in Osaka, and there's a similar study that and I'm sure there's many more, but there's one that I've heard about in Australia that's non-invasive. I think they put some kind of a cap. You wear some kind of a cap that's able to capture whatever the waves are. And as far as images go, they're able to go. I think there was one done with Scotland that had to do with colors, where they were able to have one person look at something that is a color, and then be able to capture the brain waves, send them to the other person, upload those waves into their brain, and they were able to say what the color was that the original person was seeing. And the one I think it's the one in Japan, where going from brainwaves to image, where they're able to show like animals, and my understanding is you can't see clearly, but they are able to generate the image, and you can understand that the person was seeing an animal, but you couldn't necessarily make out what kind of an animal or anything out of that. But these are evolving technologies. So at some point, you're going to be able to walk down the street and read what's going on in the minds of the people passing by you. I'm not necessarily looking forward to that. And I'm sure those people who are concerned about privacy are freaking out. But these emerging technologies are going in so many directions, and they're going so fast that the problem is that when we look at our children and grandchildren, if you've got children or grandchildren who are let's say in primary school, middle school, or even high school, even here for Matteo and Gatanji, the idea here is, okay, at the rate this is going, what's the world going to look like in 4 years? If somebody is getting ready to start university, where are universities going to be in 4 years? If we're talking about by the end of next year, you having access to the entire knowledge of the world, what are you going to go to university for? Sal Khan, the author of that book on the One World Schoolhouse and the founder of Khan Academy, he has a triple degree from MIT. And people asked him, how did you manage to get a triple degree from MIT, especially? And he said, it was simple. I found the secret was don't ever go to class. He said, because you could learn 10 times faster on your own rather than going to class and listening to somebody that's 100 meters away that are talking at normal speed, who 80% of what they're saying is not the gist that you need to remember, that he could learn so much faster on his own, either watching recordings of lectures or the like, or just collaborating with other people that were sitting with them, that were thinking about or watching the same thing. And now with artificial intelligence, and we know they've just added this thing called Conmigo into Khan Academy. So it's artificial intelligence, so that whatever you're trying to understand long division here, you can talk to the AI and say, well, why do I have to multiply to figure out, how many of these fit into the number I'm trying to divide into? And so where all that stuff is going, I don't know, but I do know that right now, somebody like Gitanji and Matteo, there's no reason why they can't complete their bachelor's degree simultaneously with completing high school. Other than the fact that somebody is saying, no, you got to pay us a lot of money to come here for 4 years, and then we'll give you a piece of paper that says you've got this knowledge. But they can acquire the knowledge easily on their own right now, or the same thing for a master's degree. And this is going to mean that for their world, you got to think ahead. There's Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player from Canada. He said, you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where it's going to be. And so when we look here at what's happening in the world, it's so super important that we look at what is the world likely to be like in a year, 2 years, 4 years. So we're not going down a path based on, well, the way the world was for those people who are in their fourth year, the way they were looking at it 4 years ago. We can't necessarily do that. Yarden, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I think it's really interesting what you're sharing. The one point you shared, the guy who got 3 degrees, he just didn't go to class. I think that's great for some people. Well, for me, that would not have worked. I always needed help from the teacher, and I, I I think it would have, you know, being in class really helped me a lot. So I think some people it works, some people it doesn't. So
Oh,
that's
yeah, you're 100% right on that. But here's the issue: the AI has the ability to detect what kind of a learner you are, and figure out the best way, and be your mentor, tutor, confidant, there in a very, very intimate way, of helping you learn that, because it can understand exactly where you're at and where you're going with. Now, what it doesn't do from the cognitive knowledge part is that's one piece. When we talk about changing education, and we see the examples that are starting to come, like School Alpha One in Austin, Texas, that has jumped into the top 1% of schools in the United States by getting rid of the human teachers and having all the teaching done by AI, and they only spend 2 hours a day now, and they're able to be in the top 1% knowledge wise. But what the is needed still is a lot of your relationship with your teacher was not about could they teach chemistry well or could they teach this well. It was what kind of interest did they take in you as a person, to what degree they became a mentor and an advisor to you because they cared about you as a person, and were able to advise you on all kinds of things, and you felt comfortable going to them as a confidant. But that's something that we're going to see when AI is assisting the teacher. Initially, is going to move from being the person who is giving out the instruction, because them giving a lecture is it's been proven in so many ways. A single lecture is not as effective. This is why you see the teachers' colleges here in the US, they almost across the board are teaching a concept called the flipped classroom, where they say to the teacher, record your lecture and have your students watch the lecture at home, where they can stop it, replay it. They can play it multiple times if they need to, and then they come to class and do the homework in class, because then the teacher's available to assist them if they get stuck. So the lecture time is probably the least efficient time or use of that teacher's time, if you would. So I think the thing about it is and maybe Yarden, you can speak to this. If you had a an AI there that was literally able to answer every question you had, but was also able to detect what you have mastered and not yet mastered, was able to advise you on how you might approach things differently and take the initiative to do something, not just be reactive to what you're doing, and go beyond that to look at anything in your private life that was impacting your ability to learn. Let's say in for example, in Germany, a study was made in Munich where they had a lot of children that they found coming to primary school in the wintertime in their pajamas barefoot, and they questioned these children, and they said, well, they got have to go to school before the sun comes up, so it's not light. And they said, well, if we turn on the light to get dressed at home, our parents beat us. And you know, the school had to deal with that issue. That's not something that's an academic issue, but the school had to deal with that image in the lives of these kids. And that's an extreme case, but I'm sure there's a lot of cases that are mild and so fall into questionable areas. But in the future, the AIs will detect the emotional well-being and what's going on with the students, and be able to intervene on those areas and talk to them of hey, you look distracted, what's going on here, can I help you with anything, and be able to detect the best way on that. Yarden, your thoughts maybe on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty interesting. There is it I guess just where I'm at is I think those are great things. I'm just also I think it's just always important to keep in mind as we're developing, uh, for that to also not take over. Where like you use the example of like the school getting involved, right? The kids getting be turning on the lights, right? Um, you know, for people to also intervene, not just to have AI. Like I shared earlier with social media and how it was great, and then we kind of when now we say get off social media. I mean, we still use it and it's important. Same thing with the AIs. I think that's what sometimes my concern comes in.
Yeah,
But
but I
that's it.
think here, as was pointed out, Gitanji pointed out, the social media. I look at that for a lot of people of all ages, and I said, "Wow, this is so fantastic! This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why would I want to get these kids off of that? We've got a program we're looking at trying to get implemented to say we need to get our 2-year-olds on the computers and on AI, and get them used to interacting with AI. Why? We see here there are parents out there that are doing a fantastic job and saying, "Hey, you stay away from my kids. I don't want you interfering on that." But the fact of the matter is that we have a large percentage of parents that either can't or don't want to do what their kids need. So the question is, if maybe the parents never had got an education themselves, maybe they don't speak English at home. The parents maybe don't even know English, or they're really good parents and they're working three jobs just to be able to give their kids the food to eat and a roof over their head, and have no time to be parenting, if you would. So while we look and say, for some people, um, that, oh, if we could have the best human. But the bottom line is all of these problems we're talking about right now, where we see kids not getting fed at home. At the Rotary Club in the town I live with, we deliver backpacks of food every Friday to a whole bunch of families because the parents won't make any, the kids get food in school during the week, but the parents don't make the kids any food. They just ignore the kids. And so they give them very easy to prepare food for the kids to make it for themselves. The idea here is, well, wait a minute, but the humans can do a better job than the AI can. But what about the ones that don't? Okay, it gets back to this situation here that even if we say, hey, in 85% of the cases, the AI is better than the human, and 15% they're not. But if we keep going and saying, look at the 15% here, the AI is no good. Look at these people are much better than the AI, but that's not the average person. And so do we go and say, tough luck, you didn't get the right draw of the parents. And it's not because the parents maybe are not concerned. Like I say, they may be working three jobs. It may be they don't speak the language. It may be they never got an opportunity to get an education themselves. So they can't talk to their kids about those kinds of things that are going to help them be prepared when to be successful when they go to school. Yarden, your thoughts on that, or anybody that wants to speak to those.
Yeah, I'll just share the last thing. No, you have a point, Bill. And there needs to be a solution to that. You bring up, I think, some great issues. And yeah, AI could be more effective than humans. I think I'm not saying you're wrong on that. I'm not saying that's not something to put in. We also need to be aware at the same time, even if it's more effective than the human, the there's a difference between having an AI there and having a living human being. There's always a difference, and that always may not be the solution. I, you know, I don't know. You have a point. Maybe an AI could be a solution to that, but I don't. I think, yeah. What I'm trying to say is AI needs to be. It's just we need to be aware of also. Yeah, I think just what I said.
Yeah,
It
I
also needs
think
to
here
be.
what you're trying to point out is that the basic conflict we have, what happens if AI is truly better than humans, than almost all humans in almost all cases? uh, uh, what if? Let's assume that was the case. Let's assume that for every aspect of humanity, other than humans interacting with humans, that AIs are better. So that you're going to have some people that say, look, it's better to have a less advanced world or a more inferior world, but a world driven by humans, than to have a world that is better for humans, but is not driven and controlled by humans. That's going to be a huge debate I see coming up. And you've got, for example, people like Ray Kurzweil from Google. He was the chief technology officer there, saying, "Hey, in his ideal world, we replace all our biological parts with mechanical parts, and we become cyborgs." That he sees that as being a very desirable future. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here that totally freak out at that thought. Me too, by the way. But potentially here, hey, those mechanical devices are if you're not going to get a heart attack with those. You'll probably be able to run faster. You'll be stronger and can lift more weight, and then you can do all kinds of things like that, and you'll never die. Although right now the biological side says we're going to hit that within 5 years, that we will hit longevity, escape velocity. and never have to worry about dying, although that might be restricted to billionaires or almost billionaires. We don't know. Uh, but Ian, let's go to you, and then I want to try to sort of bring all this back together and wrap up because in 15 minutes we're hitting that 3 hour mark again. And I feel so bad about making recordings of this and asking anybody, "Hey, watch our 3 hour video." I have to find an AI that's going to find a way to chop these down to get them down to a reasonable length. But Ian, please.
We could probably reduce the silence spaces anyway. So the thing about, whether you want AI interacting with kids of particular ages, you could, of course, use an AI and AI experts to, AI teaching experts to figure out what is the specific or appropriate AI to be used in those situations. We all think to ourselves, yeah, I'd restrict that to that age. But if you ask an 8-year-old, oh, would you allow this for 8-year-olds? They'd say, yeah, it's okay for me, but I wouldn't allow it for other 8-year-olds. That kind of thing. And I think, when it comes to where we're going as mechanical parts and all the rest of it, as I've said before, we're kind of cyborgs to start off with anyway. And we will merge with the machines because there's certain parts of the universe we just can't survive in without doing that. And that's our future. I mean, our future is the whole food system will change. How we think, I suppose, in a way will change because the when you suddenly get the answer to something, the eureka moment, that's the kind of thing that quantum computing is essentially doing. And you get people, some physicists, well, not most, one physicist in particular would say, yeah, that's kind of how the brain works. There is some kind of quantum computing going on in there that allows us to jump to solutions that we wouldn't otherwise. And I think what AI can do for us is unlock a lot of that at a very basic level to see what's actually going on, do the data processing that can establish it. And that's what happened with the Willow computer. With quantum computing, there's enormous amount of error. And if we're using it ourselves, even for people who statistically are psychic, the error levels are huge. And what we need is some sort of AI thing. And I think that's what Willow's chip is. It's got the AI looking at the stuff, running the thing multiple times, saying, okay, it was a different error each time to the same question. That was the right one. And then it kind of builds up a map of saying, okay, these are the right answers. These will give you, eureka answers, if you want to call them that. And I think in the education space, yes, we need to be cautious, but from the technological point of view, getting AI to look in there is better. But what we have to establish before anything else is that prosperity is our future, and make sure that the billionaires who have their own, because they won at that particular competition, and they're the only people who won at that particular competition, don't take us down that route of intense competition and this, this scarcity model. Because if we go with the scarcity model, this is going to be a disaster. Whereas if we go with the prosperity model, of saying, we can build things to make things better. We can use quantum computing to crack the secrets of the universe, not crack open people's heads and be able to manipulate them.
Yeah.
That's where
there's a ton of unanswered questions, but I think what's very important is for us to realize where things are at. A lot of people are are almost denying where things are at or denying where things might be able to go. And as a result, we're not making preparations to handle various situations, and they'll just come at us. And if they're coming at us too fast, and we don't have time to
We're,
react.
we're, we're used to linear projection, and that's the problem. I mean, we're thinking, oh yeah, well, it took this long for the Industrial Revolution. It'll take that long, but it won't.
Yeah.
It'll take a hundredth of the time.
And this is why I think it's so important to have people like Katanji and Matteo and Yarden here listening and thinking about these things, because guess what, guys? You're the ones we're depending on to fix some of these issues and direct some of these issues.
Clean
And
up our
we're very
mess.
happy to share with you some of the things we've experienced. But keep in mind that I don't see you as, oh, you're students. We can come in and tell you what you should be doing. What we want to do is help expose you so you can develop the ideas, and you have your own thoughts and opinions. We just want to make sure you've got as much information as possible, that you're
See,
building
see
those
us
ideas.
blind folks falling into the gutter, so you know where it is.
Yeah, right. So, but the key thing I wanted to point out, and um, there was something else here. Oh, the other big announcement that I think it was Monday, was that ChatGPT made the full version of OpenAI, or ChatGPT o1 available. They moved from the preview to the full version. Supposedly, based on what I've heard and read, that a full version is roughly twice as powerful as the preview version was. And we now have Perplexity, Gemini 2.0, and Copilot. They've all brought reasoning models in, so that we're seeing a much more reasoning. And that reasoning is speaking to what Ian was just talking about, where you issue a prompt, and the AI analyzes the prompt and sort of figures out, okay, I need to do these different steps. But along the way, it's going and asking itself, is the answer I got from that previous step, does that make sense? And is it good enough to build upon for the next part of the equation? And at the very end, it will double check again. Now, that's all relatively new, and the compute limitations are restricting, and we're not getting the full. But you can already see the quality of the answers has gone up tremendously, and we can only expect that to go further. So, but the bottom line is here, I think the thing that is going to have the most impact for the world, not Yarden, when you want to go and make videos, and you or Gail want to make videos. Hey, that's great, and you can do all that, but that's not necessarily everybody's thing, and so that it's not changing the whole world that you're able to do that. It might change an entire industry, just like we're seeing in law, that it's likely to change the industry. That we're seeing in medication discovery, we're seeing huge inroads being there. Diagnoses, the I posted a video that issued the question here that was asked of about 5 experts in AI. At what point does it become malpractice for a human doctor to issue a diagnosis or prescribe a treatment without using AI? In other words, that we're basically saying, look, for a human to practice medicine without AI is malpractice, and they should be forbidden. Uh, the interesting thing about it is the question was, how long do we have? And I think everyone on the panel said less than 5 years. In 5 years, it'll be against the law for a human to practice medicine directly, without AI support. And the most aggressive said within the year. Within 1 year, it will be considered to be malpractice for a human doctor to practice without AI support. Uh, take it as it is. The very fact that people are discussing that and people are saying, hey, for a human to do something, certain things should be against the law. And that I think is a very interesting discussion. But the bottom line, what we were talking about for all those things that are professional or what personal productivity issues, they are less likely to have as big an impact on society as when every cell phone here has all the knowledge, access to all the knowledge in the world, sees everything, hears everything, has advanced reasoning built in, and has memory to know everything about the person that their person, if you would, that they're dealing with, and becomes the confidant, the companion, the best friend, the mentor, the coach, the tutor, and the assistant, because you now tell this and say, oh, I need to have a vacation schedule for this. I need to apply for to be added to the list or that, or I want to make a reservation here. Hey, just please do it. Please do it. And as soon as people get a habit of doing that once or twice, it's all over because nobody's ever going to go and say, "I'll do this manually." If a restaurant can't go and have my AI make a reservation for me, they're just not going to get my business. And I think you're going to see that spread like wildfire. And I believe that is what's going to change the world faster than anything else that excites us because it helps us do things. But I think that everyone being able to do all those basic things is going to have the biggest impact on the world. Any final thoughts, anyone? Other than that, I will call this meeting to an end. I think it's been a very interesting discussion. Went a lot more into some of the ethical considerations and thoughts than I had anticipated in the beginning. But I think we've covered all the main points we wanted to cover. And by the next time here, I'm going to try to post a bunch of examples of videos out there that you can watch that actually show you how to use some of these technology pieces. Abraham, please. Abraham, you're muted. Yes.
All right. Okay. Good day, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah. I've been listening, and I would like to just say thank you very much, and for everyone who attend today's meeting. Yes, I think for some of us, and we are still finding it difficult, especially in Liberia, to maybe use AI because many of the youth, some of them don't have access to AI in school. Yes, AI is very good at times and make you to do your work easier. Maybe assignment, or maybe you are finding it difficult maybe to get answer to something and you don't have anyone near you. So at times, as for me, I put in my questions or what I want, and it gives me result. But I noticed that for me, whenever I go in my district, some area don't even have like network to browse, and people are still using the traditional method to teach. Maybe use books. Yes, we are just using over and over lesson have been used long time, no changes. So I want to ask, maybe how can we bring changes or can carry information to them about AI? What may be your thing, your thinking?
Yes. No, there's two aspects of that. The one aspect is like you're saying, the schools and how do we formally bring it about. The other one is for those people who do have phones, when the technology becomes available, they're going to have much more access. Now, you've got a double whammy because you've got a problem in lots of parts of the developing world that the connectivity is not always the greatest. And there are many, many regions who don't have any connectivity at all, don't have the option. I would like to organize a meeting where we discuss, in particular, looking at sub-Saharan Africa, um, what are we running the risk that the human species is going to divide into two species? We talked about here that on the one extreme, people are talking, let's all become cyborgs and we'll all be robots with ChatGPT for brains. We will upload our biological knowledge and experiences, but basically it'll all go into to a computer brain. And the other end here are people who are still living the way their great grandparents lived hundreds of years ago. In a lot of villages, DR Congo, you still have a significant number of parts of the country that don't even have electricity or only have electricity for a very short time per day. How do we do that? How do we close the gaps to make it to give the same opportunity to young people that happen to be born in Eastern DR Congo, for example, than that somebody who's born in a wealthy suburb from London? Um, we need to have a discussion on that. What's the plan? Because here's the risk. The risk is that in developed countries, we're starting to see the layoffs now. I suspect a year from now, everybody's going to be starting to freak out. And by 2 years, people are going to be hysterical because jobs are going to be being lost right and left. Because when you talk about AI or IT in general, the idea is you develop once and deploy many times. When you're talking about a human and I'm going to teach a human how to do something, if I want to have another human do it, I have to teach them how to do it. In AI, I teach one AI how to do something, and every AI knows how to do it. So the idea here is that solutions that are good are going to spread almost instantly everywhere. And competitive forces are going to force it because if your competitor went and cut their costs by 50% because they fired all their humans and switched everything to AI, you either do it or you're out of business. And so we're going to see here this call for a universal basic income or something like that. In other words, people are not going to be able to get paid for their human labor, for their work that they're doing, because they don't need it, because the robots and the AIs are going to be doing everything. So when that happens, a country like the United States or Canada or most European countries, they have the GDP to be able to go and tax the wealthy to be able to provide everybody with enough of an income to be able to live on. But if I go to a country, some sub-Saharan African countries that only have 1/40th the per capita GDP, they don't have enough money in their entire country to be able to create a universal basic income within their country. So either we create a United Nations universal basic income for the whole world, or we have to figure out that there's a risk that the undeveloped areas in many countries will be just cut off and left behind because once the Western world or the developed world is mostly living on a universal basic income that's enough to get by on, it's not enough to share with other parts of the world. So we've got to figure that out. And I think it would be a good idea to try to have a conference that we have to start talking about that. We have to start saying, here's the risk that when things get tough in the developed world, that might cause the people in the developed world to say, I have to focus so much on me. I don't have time to worry about what's going on with those other people in the undeveloped parts of the world. And we don't want to run that risk that the society gets so split that one side is living in a super modern world and they've got everything, the abundance, they got all the food they need, they got the clothing and they got the housing and they got all the things they need to live on, and the rest of the world has nothing and has to live as subsistence farmers. But because we're destroying the environment, they can't grow plants anymore. The animals have all been killed, and the tree coverage is gone. You know, we need to talk about that. Right now, people are talking about let's give some people this food right now. But nobody's talking about, well, what's going to happen in a year from now or 2 years from now when we don't have any resources to share. We can't go and provide those communities with food. So we have to figure out a way. How do we not disconnect? How do we not lose the context so much that those parts of the world are basically just abandoned? So hopefully, if we talk about it, it sounds like a really downer vision. But the first step to solving a problem is to recognize that there is a problem. And even if we're talking about a problem in the future, and I must say, when I hear people like Gitanji and Matteo, um, my confidence level that we are going to be able to find solutions goes way up, because I have to say, Gitanji, your comments today, um, you know, uh, many 30-year-olds could not have answered as thoughtfully as your answers there. So hats off to you, and the fact that Matteo, that you're wanting to join with this group and being able to be involved in that. I think this is great. And Yarden, your thoughts. I want to thank you for bringing in some of that discussion that's talking about, hey, what are we going to do if this happens, and what happens to humanism as such. This is a big discussion. We may have to separate it from the pure what can we do positively for AI, or what is going to happen with AI in general, because you're talking more about what are the consequences if it does happen. And Anyway, those are my thoughts. And Ian, I really appreciate your comments as well today. Your knowledge on the whole quantum computing is very, very impressive, and I'm sure I'm going to call on you in the future to provide more insight into what's going on there. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope a lot of people will watch this video, because I think we covered a lot of important things. Thanks.
Bill,
Yes.
can you add me and Matteo to the group chat, please?
Yes, yes, definitely. We'll do that. I thought I did already, but I'll double check.
Okay. And if possible, can you also send us like the important documents for this project?
Yeah, and in fact, as I mentioned here, I actually would like to discuss with you the idea of creating a collaborative group. I have never tried using Notebook LM and Perplexity spaces, which allow us to bring groups of people together to collaborate. And I'd like to invite you to be part of a collaboration group to talk about and solve some major world problems. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Good day, everyone.